Good morning, everyone. This is Bob Hawk at WiSys. I'm the Director of Sales. Thank you for joining our webinar to discuss how to take the slack out of your information supply chain. So let's talk about slack. When we go to the retail stores, we know that the supply chain is delivering products all the time to the stores we buy our products at. So I did some rock climbing with my son-in-law last summer, and I started thinking about slack. And if you don't have any slack, you can't move. So we need slack in our life to be able to move up and down and make things happen. But you can see on the far right, if you've got too much slack, it can be disastrous. So that's just an example of what slack is, why it's good and why it's bad. And there is some value in slack in your supply chain. What does it do? It reduces risk. And that risk is there because we want to be able to meet customers' deliveries, and we don't want to have shortages in material. No fun trying to manufacture something when you're missing a key component. So we want to eliminate the unknown by having slack. But there's a price to be paid for slack. One example I saw online was, you can imagine that if a business needs $1 million of inventory every day to build, manufacture, and distribute products, and they decide they're going to have 10 days of safety stock at $1 million a day, it adds up to, could be potentially $10 million. So that's a high price to pay for slack. So we use slack to deal with blind spots. And there's blind spots come from things we can't see very easily. Sometimes it's from our suppliers, planners, different people in inventory, transportation, manufacturing, even customers cause slack because they're changing things on us all the time. And even our employees in sales, they're always forecasting and updating the forecast. People think that in my job that I should have a perfect forecast, but I can tell you it's always a moving target. So slack is used to eliminate blind spots. So when I started thinking about slack in my information supply chain, I wanted to think about how I could have better information, live continuous information. And I wanted to have that information the way I want it and how it makes sense for me. I'm working with a prospect right now. They told me they have 300 retail stores, and each retail store turns in an order once a week for replenishment to the distribution center. And they're doing that in a spreadsheet every week, and it takes hours. So they're using Agility. They're going to be using Agility to bring that data in through one of our grids and create work orders or sales orders. So, what is your supply chain blind spot and what's it worth to you? Is it worth $1 million? So I'm going to talk about using the Agility solutions today. I want you to know that WiSys applications go way beyond the four walls of the warehouse. So if you're on Progression, you can use this product. If you're on ES, you can use this product. And if you're on Macola 10, you can use this product. In fact, if you're already a WiSys customer and you have a recent update, you can just add a 5-pack of named user seats, follow the instructions to add the browser pages, and boom, you're up and running. So you have everything already. It's been added to our system over a year ago. And the applications that I'm going to show you, we're going to do a little design work today. I'm going to do some simple work. So I really think it's important to make it easy to use. I mean, I hope today you see something that you can use. Even with novice capability in Crystal, you could create something yourself or work with a consultant. These applications will work on your phone with a browser. They'll work on your PC and a tablet. There's several different styles. The Agility Desktop product has lots of styles. We have 3 that are available in the browser. We have the grids, process grids, and analytics, which some people look at graphic images or KPIs, key performance indicators, and dashboards. All right, I am on my desktop, and I have a couple of things to show how this can work. So the first way I want to show you is using Agility as a standalone application. So if you think about it, you have many Macola licenses to use the Macola software. So you have your Progression, ES, or Macola 10 licenses. And if you want to run Agility outside of Macola, you can do that. It attaches and runs. So we have a menu system for Agility. So these are components that we've built. If you were to get this product and install it, you would have these components. And I'll tell you that these components are examples. Everybody that's using this product, and we have a number of customers that use it today, everybody wants their data the way they want it. And that's what makes WiSys fairly unique, is WiSys is really a tool set-based application, meaning that you can have it your way. You don't have to just take it out of the box. There's also a little menu here to the right. If you click the hamburger, you can get different menus here. See, there's individual components that you can click on. Okay. So that's how I run that there. You can also run it from the desktop. So let me just minimize this. So I have icons. You'll notice I have just single icons here. And I just took a component and put the link on my desktop, and I have one component that I could run. So that's pretty easy. And also, let's just go take a look at Macola 10. I already had it open once. So here is my workspace, and I have individual components here that I want to run from the workspace. So if I click on this one, I get a screen with some filters. Just click Go. And I'm able to filter down and look at things. Now, I've been using Agility a long time, and I really like this style of interface. It's bigger, it's easier to see. It is fast. If I come in here and just filter, I can filter down to just one customer, just like I can do on the desktop Agility. The browser is very quick in the same way. You can group, just like you can on the others. And of course, we have the ability to manipulate the columns. So here's the column chooser over here. You can grab another date and enter it on the system here. The menu is somewhat similar. You can export. You can look at documents if there were documents here. You can refresh the screen, go back to that bid screen here where you're going to filter again. So it's pretty straightforward, easy to use. And again, because it's a browser, there's really nothing to install on each individual workstation you're using. Okay. So let's just look at a couple of styles of applications here. I'm just going to go back here, and I'm going to look at, just go into orders, purchase orders, and go to purchase order. Here's an example. These are purchase orders that are on the web. Now, how is this going to help you take the slack out of your information system? So one of my customers in West Virginia, they have the main warehouse where they use the scan guns and everything, but they also have 2 overstock distribution centers in the city, but they're not at the main location. And it's really a lights out warehouse. They don't have Wi-Fi in there. They don't have the ability to do much of anything in that warehouse. They just keep overstock over there. But sometimes they direct the trucks to go over there and drop off material. So if I were to filter down maybe to just one PO, okay, here's an open PO, and imagine that the truck has arrived and I want to receive 100. I can just do this right here. There's a button at the top. So this is an actionable grid. It's not just information. It's one of our working grids that will take action. So there you go. I just received 100 at the remote warehouse. So if you have a tablet, your cell phone, anything that's connected to the internet, you could easily do that receiving without having to do it on paper and bring it back to the main office. So to me, that's an example of a way that you can use agility in that environment to take the slack, the time out of getting something done. And sales orders, something similar. I can come in here to order processing. And I'll just mention a couple of things here. I can do billing. I could do invoicing. I can do confirm shipping. And I want to show you a component here. It's called a mobile. We use the word mobile when we make it small for a small device like your phone. And we use the word dashboard when it's an analytic. So let's just take a look at this one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this smaller. So you can imagine this is what it might look like on your phone. So here, if I type in a sales order, 26995, I can actually drill down on this sales order. So imagine this is your phone, and you can get more information here. So somebody that's in the field that may want to look up a customer order status on their phone and prevent a phone call back to the office, you can use this browser application right on your phone. And there's a little Android app. You can download an Android or an Apple iPhone app, and you can run these as a container on your phone. It doesn't have to be just a browser. These things will show up as an Android or an Apple app. And there's no extra charge for that. It's just part of being a browser user. Okay. And let's go a little further. And I want to look at a multi-level item view. Notice there's buttons across the top again. If I click go, I can get my information. And remember, these grids are real time. It's not like having a spreadsheet that has to be reconnected. You can just refresh these screens anytime you need fresh data. Right here is a refresh button. So again, if I look at a particular item, I can find this particular, I could look at my order. Again, here's that order. And if there's a PO associated with that item, 96001, I can read the PO. So there's linkage there for that. Okay. So you have all these different options for shop and pop floor, pop orders, and things like that. Let's look at a dashboard. And this one here. Oops, I'm sorry. I said dashboard, didn't I? And order processing dashboard. This is one of my favorites. It is designed by Kathy. She calls it manage to zero. So the idea is that your shipments go up and your pick tickets go down. So you can actually monitor what's going on during the day. You could have this on a big screen out there in the shop and have it refreshing. If you click on pick tickets, then you get your pick tickets here. If you click on shipped orders, you'll have your status 7 confirmed shipped orders here. So we have the detail for all of these. And if you click on these, you can drill down into the order. So there's other analytics out here. There's a analytic for inventory, AR, things like that. So these are just some examples we built. All right, let's actually build something. All right, I'm taking out the net and I'm going to actually build something online and show you how easy it is to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open a project. So these are XML projects that are like little containers that you can put different things. So this is Bob's web project. So I want to create a new component. So if you've done this before in the Agility system for the desktop, the Client Server Edition, you're using the same tool that you already know. But each project, and let me just go back to that for just a second, projects. If you were to look, there are web projects and there are standard regular desktop projects. So I'm on the last used tab here. You can see that this project is marked as a web project. That means it'll automatically publish through IIS. And I don't have to be a web programmer to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the simplest thing. I'm going to build a grid. Orders. And I'll call it Bob's Orders. And you can pick an icon, stuff like that. And there are different things to do up here, but it's easier just to follow the bouncing ball down at the bottom, the wizard. And I'm going to go to SQL. So here, I'm just going to say, I don't know all the names by heart, but I know most of them that I use regularly. So I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to get the orders. OE order. Okay, so I'll just point out there is the SQL table. I could use that if I want. But there's also a WiSys view, WV. WVs are kind of nice because if you're on progression and you want to be able to build something that will automatically upgrade to Macola 10, if you use the WiSys view, then you'll just have all that data, and it's normalized for Macola 10. Okay, so if you like to do all your query stuff and the SQL Management Studio, you could cut and paste what you do in here. Or you can be simple like me and just pick and choose. I'm not going to pick everything, but enough. I'll get the bill to name, a few other fields, and I want the order total. And what else? Anything else? Good enough. So I'll apply. And if you make a mistake, which I'm prone to do, it'll stop you and tell you need to do something else. So there's buttons you can do, alerts, and all kinds of stuff. And when you are done, you have to tell it which item is going to be your key for lookups for an index. And I'll just say apply, OK. So there's my component that I built. And again, if I go back here, I can see the SQL data that's coming out of the system. So that's good. I've got real data. And whoops, click happy here. All right. Once I create that item, I'm going to put it on a menu. So I'm going to put it on my menu down here. Once I get it on a menu, I can right mouse and preview it. So it'll show me what it's going to look like in general. Nice option in here is to take all these names here from the SQL table and normalize them. You can do a mass format, which makes it pretty. Just save that, you're done. So here, if I preview it again, it should stick. Okay, so I've just created that component. And now I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to create an analytic. And what I'm going to do here is grab this SQL and cancel. I'm going to do another item. I want to come over, whoops. Menu. New component. And I'm going to do an analytic. And that's good enough. All right, this time I get a little different menu. I'm going to go into the designer. I'm going to start here. I'm going to go to data source, new query. And I'll just paste my SQL in here. So now I've got some data here, and I'm going to go back to here, and I'm going to pick some style. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, say, customer number, and I'll take the sales total. So there you go. There's my analytic. And that's not that readable, so let's try something else. Let's try the bill to name. And then let's just sort by the top 5. All right. So there's my great analytic. What are my top sales? And I'll apply. All right, so now I've got Bob's KPI and my orders. I need to take Bob's KPI and drop it down here. So I just added it to that menu. Now, there's something else to do, but I'm just going to show you how that works. So if we come in here and we look at the menu for sales, notice that nothing is here yet. Even though I created it, put it on the menu, I got to deal with security now. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to go into the desktop application because that's where users are configured. So I'm going to go to the user capability, user access, and I'm going to go to roles. So the web stuff uses roles. So here's my role, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide down here to my sales stuff, and you'll notice that there's no check marks. Just going to check them and add them to this new role of mine. All right. Come back and refresh, and I've got those components. So this is going a little slow and just talking about the whole thing as I go. You can see that I have published something to the internet without much muss or fuss. Okay. So a couple other things to talk about is how do we communicate to vendors and customers? How could we use the Agility applications to take the slack out of our communication pipeline with special people? So I've created a component here called the Agility Vendor Gateway. So I've got this term called gateway. And what I've done is I've actually limited the view of a single component to one particular vendor. So for those of you that have special vendors, it could be your parent company, it could be a child company that you buy from, things like that. They may want to be able to have real-time access to the information that's in your Macola, but this is very strategic. It's an individual component. So as an example, my purchase order, 24,951, doesn't belong to them. Okay, so coming back, if I look at this particular PO, I've enabled a couple of fields here. Promise date, I'm confirming, and a note, a vendor note. So what if I could confirm, this is the promise date. What if I could tell, what if this particular vendor could communicate to me and says, you know, I'm not going to make that date. I'm going to make this date. And I'm going to confirm it, yes. It's just a way to communicate. And over here, extra QA testing. So you can see it's a check mark here, and I'll just do an update. So I really didn't do anything more than just update a few fields in the Macola system. I can't change quantities, I can't do this or that, I can't delete a record. All I can do is what these three fields allow me to do. And then inside my company, inside the company that I'm working on here, the buyer would be able to see that these notes have been passed back and forth. So you can stretch this out in your own imagination to what if you could add a container number? What if you could confirm different things along the way related to a shipment and enter, you know, tracking information, ports of entry, things like that. So all this information can be done in a real-time actionable grid, and it's not one size fits all, it's how do you want your data. So that's an example of what I call a gateway. A gateway is a very strategic component used for one specific thing. What if we go the other way? What if we go and look at a customer? What if you have a customer and that customer wants to be able to see what the status of their orders are at any one time? So again, you can allow them to see what you want them to see. They could look up their orders based on their POs, things like that, and be able to understand if this is an order that is shipped, or maybe it's not shipped yet, or it's going to ship. Again, certain fields could be allowed for edit if that's what you want to do. In this case, this is just a read-only type of thing. So this is a customer gateway. And finally, if you are a sales rep, you could come in, log in, and you could be presented with your orders. These are deals that are in the system. And again, I'm using Synergy data now. So if I want to click on this particular record, it's going to have me log in. Have to get my password in there. So now I'm using workflow data. So I'm going from a WiSys browser component to a Synergy component. I can make an update. And I'm good to go. So that would then be part of workflow inside the system. So just from that one component, a sales rep could have a very strategic view of driving information. So there may be other people in your supply chain that you want to grant access to. And you can do that by basically buying a number of users and allowing those to go out. I have a couple of pictures here to show you. Let me bring up that. Here's a couple of pictures of my Android phone. So this is what it looks like on your phone. It's a nice, clean little app. The analytics are easy to read, and you can drill down in those analytics to get into specific information. One of our customers, IFS, they use this. They have about 50 sales reps and distributors out in their world, and we have a blog entry here. So that's just, if you were to search for IFS in our blog, you could find that blog entry where Enrique talks about how he's using this in their system on their iPhone to look up orders. This is specific to them. They had a deal with their customers. If they miss a shipment, they can shut down their customer's line. So it was super important that every sales rep out in the field knew whether an order was going to be delayed for some reason, so that they could communicate with their customer quickly to make sure they didn't have a problem. So, I mean, you can just let your mind be as creative as you want in the things that are important to you in terms of creating little apps that give your people special information. Okay, now would be a good time to move into Q&A. We're just at about 40 minutes, and we've got plenty of time for those of you that would like to ask some questions. Any questions out there? Okay.
Bob, you'll have to look.
Oh. Can you not see them?
No, we can't see them.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Let's see. How do you allow vendors and customers to access the gateway? Is there a fee for them to access? Is the web access standard? Having agility or is it an extra add-on? Well, there's a couple of questions there. Okay, how do I allow vendors and customers to access the gateway? So you would add them as a user to your network as an Active Directory user. And then once you do that, then they have access to certain things. And then what I did is I used a user-defined field on the customer or the vendor card to allow a specific name to see just that individual vendor that came out of your vendor master. So I was able to do that. So is there a fee to do this access? Only the fee of having enough user rights on SQL and things like that. Is there web access standard? Or having agility, is that an extra? No, it's standard. So it's part of IIS. So when you when you have your IIS box, there's a component that you add, a WiSys application that you add to that, and you plug that in, and then it's just part of the agility setup. Do you need additional license? This is another question. Do you need additional licensing to access AWE to the Synergy Enterprise? So if you have a WiSys user, and again, we sell them as a 5-pack, so it's 5 times $500, $2,500, you just add that. So you would have if you want to blend them together and use them, so if you want WiSys Agility to call a workflow component, you have to have a user in Synergy to do that. That's how I'm bringing that up. Another question, Bob, is there a web app to enter orders? Well, we have to enter orders, the object, if you think about it, for those of you that understand the WiSys framework, the objects are there. Inside the framework, you can use and access any of the objects within reason. So if you wanted to have an order grid, something really dumbed down, super simple, maybe lots of defaults, you could probably create an order grid. I'm not a consultant, but I believe it'd be possible. But you'd want to talk to a consultant or someone technical about being able to do that. Another question is, so every vendor accessing the gateway would consume a named user. That is correct. So obviously, if you have 1,000 vendors out there and you want them all to use this, then we hit the jackpot. You're going to buy 1 million users to use this. But on the other hand, most people only have a couple that are their super strategic vendors. That's what I see happening. Okay, continuing on. These are great questions. Thank you, everyone. What is the default URL to access AWE? I'm not sure I have an answer for that. Kathy, do you know how I would tell somebody what the default URL is, or is it just what you need?
The default URL is going to be whatever you set it up. You do have to create that on your IIS server. And by default, we populate with AWE, but you can customize it, make it whatever you want.
Mm-hmm. So if you have a demo environment or a test environment, you can get it off of localhost/AWE, something like that. If I looked at the IIS server, there's just an AWE entry there that I'm executing. You can see it right here, /AWE. Okay. And again, if these answers are not complete enough, just send me over an email and I'll make sure we get you the right answer for sure. Is there a way to link Agility View, this, to our website as a supplier portal? Is there a way to link an Agility View to our website as a supplier portal? Well, to me, a supplier portal is a lot more full service than a strategic component. So I think, David, we'll have to talk about that in terms of what a portal would mean to you. If it means that a vendor could just look at something, then that's a portal. If they want to enter a bunch of data, maybe it needs to be more involved.
Can I jump in here for a minute? It can be limited so that whoever you grant, the supplier you grant or vendor access to, only in a couple of ways can only see their information and also only what you give them rights to. So you're going to give them the exact same link, but there will be limitations for that particular vendor of what they can see and do.
By the way, Kathy, thank you for fixing that, adding that little bit for me. So here's the KPI that I built earlier that had a little problem running. Okay, those are good questions.
I don't think we can see your screen. I think we're stuck on customer usage iPhone. There you go.
Okay. All right, a couple more questions. That's right, Kathy, you're right. Somebody else said they couldn't see the KPI. And yes, I will make my PowerPoint available. Okay, we're coming right up on 10 minutes before the hour. You guys have been great today. Thank you so much for the questions and your attention. If there's no additional questions, we'll go ahead and stop here and call in if you have a need to get started with this. There is a section on our WiSys help about how to install this. So for those of you that have named users, by the way, you already have everything to run this. If you have a WiSys named user solution, you have the handheld applications, the WiSys desktop agility, and you also have access to a browser component. Okay, Celeste added one more question. Can you add OE cache in a billing and spreadsheet? I do not believe we have a cache object at this time, Celeste. So I don't think we could do that. We don't think we could apply cache at this time.
Correct.
But that is on the list, the someday list. All right, everybody, we'll go ahead and stop here. You're welcome to bail out, and we'll talk to you down the road. Thank you.